South Carolina.
All right. You mentioned that you've been with, you said you've been with waste management for a long, long time, or did you mean in the waste management field there?
So I worked for waste management in the early 2000s, and I departed 3 years and then went back to work for it.
Can you describe the positions you've held and how you've worked your way up in this industry over the years?
I started out as a heavy equipment operator. Then I worked my way up the rank as a site supervisor, operation manager, and district manager, and then a senior district manager.
And that's the position that you're in today, right?
Yes, sir.
Were you involved in the operation of the Waste Management Superior landfill in Chatham County in October, November of 2022?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you remember meeting with me in my office maybe a month or two ago?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember me asking you for just kind of the basics of how landfills work?
Yes, sir.
Because I didn't really know anything about landfills. And do you remember referring me to a YouTube video produced by the company you work for, Waste Management?
Yes, sir.
You told me this is like 2 minutes and it'll kind of get you up to speed on landfills generally?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that because you didn't want to take an hour to walk me through it, or what?
Well, just everybody so you could really understand what a landfill consists of versus what they call a dump.
What's the difference between a landfill and a dump?
Well, a landfill is just highly engineered operation, and a dump is where you pull the waste off somewhere or in a hole.
Okay. Do you think if the jury were to watch that video, it would help them in their understanding of your testimony?
Yes, sure.
Do you see in front of you a disc labeled as States Exhibit 68?
Yes.
I'd like to open that up and just show you the first frame or two and see if you can tell us what that is. And I'm going to do this on the screen.
Finding a suitable site for a landfill can be...
All right, I'm pausing it just 4 seconds in. Is this the video that you referred me to?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would introduce this disc as States Exhibit 68 and ask to publish it to the jury now.
I don't have an objection, Judge.
Finding a suitable site for a landfill can be complex. Landfill operators will work with regulators to be sure the new facility is located in the right place. Some places, like properties near wetlands, will be carefully evaluated for any environmental concerns. Impacts on nearby traffic will be analyzed. The site will also be evaluated to understand the land, groundwater, and surface water in the vicinity. Community feedback is important to consider, and meeting environmental and land use standards are a must. Once the site is approved by the regulator, the first step is to follow permit plans for sound construction. The second step is to secure the base of the landfill to provide a stable base for the liner. A two-phase composite liner is installed on the base and sides of the landfill. Leachate, a natural occurrence when waste is in contact with water, is collected through a system of drains, pumps, pipes, and hoses that move leachate away from the landfill. The leachate collection system will act as an effective biological filter by removing excess moisture from the bottom of the landfill. A groundwater monitoring system is installed to ensure the landfill does not impact groundwater at the site. The monitoring system acts as an alert in case additional measures may be needed to protect neighboring properties. Groundwater quality is protected at all times. Access to the site is carefully controlled for safety, and waste is screened by appropriateness as required. The landfill is ready to receive waste that has not been recycled. Equipment compacts the waste each day before daily cover, soil or tarps, is placed to avoid potential littering and odor. Gas wells are installed to capture methane generated by the waste. Once full, the landfill is covered with a cover system approved by the regulator. Groundwater continues to be monitored, and methane gas is collected and destroyed or turned into energy or fuel. When the landfill stops accepting waste, regulators will approve its closure and will monitor its safety for 30 years or as required by the regulators. Then, controls will be put in place to keep the property secure for the future. The property surrounding closed landfill can be used for commercial or industrial use. But commonly, the property is used for green space, suitable for recreation or habitat conservation. We strongly support wildlife habitat conservation at our landfills through our partnership with the Wildlife Habitat Council.
Now, with that little bit of background, let me ask you this: what happens when a solid waste removal truck, a garbage truck, shows up at the landfill with a load, and it's going to deposit that load at the landfill? Can you just walk us through it step by step, from the moment that truck turns in to, and we'll go specifically with Waste Management Superior Landfill in Chatham County. What happens?
So the truck enter the landfill through the main gate, proceed to the scales, which we call the gatehouse. The truck will get weighed in. Their weight will captured, and from there they proceed to the tipping floor, and that's the area they eject the waste, and it gets processed.
What happens? Let's go back to the scale. Truck comes in, goes to the scale to get weighed, right? And you're looking for the combined weight of the truck itself and the garbage on it, right?
That's correct.
Is there ever a circumstance where the truck just gets to bypass the scale initially?
No.
Okay. And then you said it goes to the tipping field, is that right?
Tipping floor.
Tipping floor. What is the tipping floor in some more detail?
That's where the truck goes to eject the load, and it gets processed.
And how does a truck eject the load? Does it depend on the type of truck or what?
Depend on the type of truck. Front end loader, they have a blade in the back where they push it out from the back, and same with a residential truck. A rolled off trucks. The bed will raise and the doors open and eject the load.
And you said at that point the trash gets processed, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Before we get into what that means, let me ask you, what happens with the truck from that point? Where does the truck go?
Once the truck ejects its load, it pulls back up out of the way and head back to the front gate.
And what happens at the front gate?
Certain trucks, their weight is stored in the system, so they don't have to weigh back out. They'll just exit the landfill.
What if the truck's weight is not stored in the system?
Then the truck will have to go back to the outbound scale and get weighed out.
And how do you calculate? Well, are trucks or solid waste removal companies charged like by the load?
By the ton, it gets calculated by the computer.
And how does the computer calculate it?
Weigh the in weight and the empty weight.
Okay, so weight of the truck with the trash minus weight of the empty truck gives you the total tonnage.
That's correct.
And you charge based off that.
That's correct.
Okay, so the truck's gone at this point, right? At the point that we're at.
That's correct.
Okay, let's go back to the trash at the tipping field and what it means for that trash to get processed. Can you tell us about that? What happens to the trash from there?
So we have a series of bulldozers that pushes the waste to the compactor, and the compactor has cleat wheels, and that spread the waste and pulverize the waste.
Is the place that the trash is pushed by the bulldozers, does it have any particular name that you refer to?
Landfill cell.
Okay. Tell me about landfill cells.
It's a general area that we put the waste in layers
And do you use the same cell all the time or no?
until it's up to the approved height.
And then what happens at that point?
Then it's closed out.
What is that? What does it mean to close out a cell?
Well, no more waste can be deposited in that area because it's at the approved elevation.
What do you do to close it out?
We apply dirt, 2 feet of dirt over that area and vegetate it.
What does it mean to vegetate it? You use
Plant
a lot
grass.
of technical terms. I'm going to keep hitting you with what does it mean?
Plant grass.
Okay, at that point you're done with that cell.
Done with that area. That's correct.
About how big is a typical landfill cell? And maybe it varies too.
It varies.
To answer that, but
It could be 10 acres, 12 acres, or 13 acres.
okay. Now, how long will you use a particular cell for?
It also varies on the tonnage that comes in. More tonnage, then that cell generally gets filled quicker. Less tonnage, it opens a little bit longer. So around 3 years, the most.
Okay. And is the landfill big enough that you've allowed for multiple cells and you can kind of
Yes.
move around it and
Yes,
use the place over the course of years?
that's correct.
Okay. You mentioned the bulldozer pushing the trash into the landfill cell and then it being compacted by, I think you said a compactor with cleated wheels.
Yes. So we use Caterpillar 836 compactors.
What is the importance of compaction in a landfill? Why bother? Why not just...
Density, fit more in a small space. We sell airspace, so we have to compact and get good density so we could fit more in that area.
Did you say something about there being regulations about how high you can
That's
have
correct.
trash in a cell? Okay. So is it fair to say that the tighter you can get that stuff compacted, the longer you can use that cell under the governing regulations?
That's correct.
These compactors that you described, do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 69?
Yes.
What is that?
That's a waste compactor.
Is it the type that you were describing?
That's correct.
Does it fairly and accurately depict that machine?
Yes.
And does it accurately capture the weight of that machine?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as States Exhibit 69.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, so this is the first page from the brochure for this machine, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and you said it's called a CAT 836.
Compactor.
All right. In this image, what is this CAT 836 doing?
Spreading and compacting the waste.
Is this, kind of a look at what that process looked like that you were describing?
Yes, sir.
All right. How much do these things weigh for this brochure?
Some all depends on the wheel. 123,000 pounds or more.
I'm not going to ask you how many tons that is, because that would require you to do math on the spot. But fair to say they're heavy?
Yes, sir.
Is it fair to say that's kind of the point?
That's the point.
You mentioned the rollers, the studded, or I think you said cleated rollers. Is that what you said?
Cleated wheels.
Do we see those in this image?
Yes, sir. Those spikes on the wheels.
Now, what are these wheels made out of?
Steel.
These are not rubber tires.
No, sir.
Okay. And what does that do to the trash?
It cuts up the trash, breaks it down.
And that's kind of what you're going for, right?
Right.
We heard something in that video about daily cover.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about daily cover? What does that mean?
So daily cover is soil that we have to apply to the waste after our shift is completed.
At the end of the day?
At the end of the day.
Why do you do this?
Because we're regulated to do that, because it helps with odor and wind-blown debris.
How much, describe the process of applying the daily cover. What does this look like?
So we have a series of ADT trucks that haul the dirt, all the cover soil to the area, and the dozers spread the soil 6 to 8 inches thick.
And this happens every day?
Every day.
And you have to do it under law, right?
Yes, sir, regulated by the state.
And when is this being done, I guess, in the active cell that you're using at that
That's
time?
correct.
Okay. And in the course of doing this daily cover and spreading this 6 to 8 inches of dirt over the cell, is it fair to say that all the trash in that cell is being compacted once again?
That's correct.
What happens with the daily cover the next morning when y'all reopen?
We remove that daily cover.
And does that also require these compactors with the blade on the front to?
The dozer will remove the daily cover.
Is that something different from the compactor?
That's correct.
Okay. Are those also pretty heavy?
Yes, between 50 or 60,000 pounds.
Okay. Now, in October of 2022, I think sometime around maybe the 7th or the 8th, did Detective Noble come out to the landfill and make contact with you?
Yes, sir.
And did he ask you whether you could tell him anything about Waste Pro Truck 3909 and where it would have deposited its garbage, its trash, on the morning of October 5th, 2022?
Yes.
And were you able to provide him some records about Waste Pro Truck 3909 on that day?
Yes.
And were you able to tell him the general area that the garbage from that truck would have been deposited in the landfill on that day?
Yes.
Do you see in front of you a 2-page document marked as State's Exhibit 67?
Yes.
Do you recognize those 2 documents?
Yes.
Can you tell us what they are?
So one is the scale ticket that we issue the driver once he come in and weigh in. And the other location is where we place the waste.
May I approach for them? Right now, I'm just asking you about the 2 pages in 67. Okay. What are the 2 pages in State's Exhibit 67?
These are the scale tickets.
Okay. How many are there?
2.
And are those scale tickets for Waste Pro Truck 3909 from
That's
October
correct.
5th, 2022?
That's correct.
Okay. So how many times did that truck come to Waste Management Superior Landfill that day?
2 times.
Are those documents created in the ordinary course of business at Waste Management?
Yes.
And are they stored and maintained in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
And you were able to produce those for Detective Noble when he asked?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would introduce these as State's Exhibit 67.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, can you see this on the screen here? There's one right next to you.
Yes.
Can you walk us through the contents of this document and what it shows, just kind of starting from the top?
So it shows the company logo and the site name and address, and also shows the customer and the date, the account, and the vehicle number, and it also shows the time that the truck entered the scales,
And what time would that be?
6:24.
All right, so that's when it comes in, right, and gets
That's-
weighed?
That's when it comes in.
And what does that operator refer to? Is that the truck operator or the scale
No,
operator?
that's the scale operator.
All right, someone named R. Bradley, I suppose?
That's correct.
Okay. What else are we seeing on here?
And the gross weight of the truck, the tear weight, and the net and the tonnage that the truck has on it.
All right, so would the gross weight there at the top be
Yeah.
the truck and the trash?
That's correct.
And the tear weight is the
Empty weight.
empty truck?
Yeah.
And the net then is the total
Tonnage
tonnage of the trash? Okay. This is from that truck's early morning 6:25 drop off, right?
That's correct.
Now I see that the in and out times on there say the exact same thing, 6:25:47. Why is that?
That's because the weight is stored in the system, so we were able to print a ticket.
So this is one of those trucks where you had the weight stored and didn't have to stop at the scale empty on the way out?
That's correct.
So it all just kind of happens in one go when it first comes in?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, what does the driver's signature there say? If you can read it.
It's hard to make out.
Moving down to the second page, we could skip all the stuff at the top. Let me just ask you, this is also for 3909 up here?
That's correct.
Okay. And what was the time that this particular load came in on this truck and was weighed
10:12 a.m.
on October 5th, right?
That's correct.
Do you see in front of you a document marked as State's Exhibit 75?
That's correct.
Have you looked through that document, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Do these images fairly and accurately depict Waste Management Superior Landfill in Chatham County?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move this in as State's Exhibit 75.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, in this first image, what is this major road running along the right side from bottom to top?
That looks like 95.
Okay. And then what is this road?
That's Little Neck Road.
All right, so Little Neck Road is the smaller road going over 95 there.
Yes, sir.
Can you, is this entire area here on the left side of the screen, is that Waste Management Superior Landfill?
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to slide 2. Do you mind stepping down and walking us through the different areas we're seeing here from right to left, from the entrance, moving over to the left?
This is the entrance. This is the shop area where we take care of our heavy equipment. This area right here is the gatehouse, the scale house is what we call it. And once the truck gets weighed in, it goes up to the working face area. Here's is our waste to energy plant we have on site. And this area here is our tipping floor area.
Okay. Now, that tipping floor area, is that the tipping floor area that was being used on October 5th of 2022?
That's correct.
It is. Okay. When Detective Noble, when he came out there and asked you if you could identify where that truck would have tipped its load and where that load would have then been shoved to, you said you were able to do that, right?
Yes.
Did he ask you to do anything for him at that point?
He asked us to stop place.
Would you like to rephrase your question?
No, Your Honor. He's going to relay a question that Detective Neville asked him. A question cannot be a statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. I mean, a question just can't be hearsay.
Given that, over.
Did Detective Noble ask you to do anything?
Stop placing waste in that area.
Okay. And was he referring to the tipping area or that particular landfill cell that trash was being used for, or what?
The landfill cell.
Okay. And did you do that?
That's correct.
Did that have any impact on y'all's operations?
Yes, it did.
What did y'all have to do at that point?
We had to hire a subcontractor to move our tipping for location, and that was a cost to the company.
Did you have to open up a new landfill cell at that point?
We had an area that still needed some waste, and we're able to relocate to that area.
Okay. From that point forward, did you cease depositing trash in the area that you had identified to him?
That's correct.
Can you, on this third slide here, we've zoomed in a little bit. Can you just generally indicate to us where the tipping floor would have been on October 5th, 2022, and where the cell would have been that things are being
So
pushed
the
to?
tipping floor would have been in this general area,
And that's a dark area
Yeah.
towards the bottom middle.
and the area we were placing waste was on the outside slope.
Okay. Can you tell us on this image like the route that the truck would have taken? And I guess let me ask you this. Is the truck going on this very obvious road along the top, or is it
would
going
come
somewhere
up,
else?
It would come up through the top.
Okay, so it's coming up the road
Yeah.
on the bottom right,
Yep.
tipping in this brownish area, and then this trash is getting shoved to this cell over here, right?
That's correct.
Now, I think you mentioned something about a slope or a hill.
Well, it's on the outer slope of the landfill.
This being a two-dimensional image, we can't really see a slope.
No.
What we're looking at here, but can you describe to us what the slope is, what direction it goes?
Well, it's on the outer side, and we're designed to build 3-to-1 slope, so not a steep incline. So you could walk and put tractors on it to mow safely.
Okay. So is it fair to say then that there's from the center of the image, there's sort of a slope down to this perimeter.
That's
road?
correct.
Okay. Were you involved, to one degree or another, in providing personnel and equipment for the search once law enforcement began the search?
Yes.
Can you tell us about the personnel and equipment that you all provided?
We provided 2 heavy equipment operator and equipment, and also my operation manager and equipment.
And what were they out there doing?
They were removing the waste and loading it, and moving the waste down on the area that they spread it out and search.
And about how long did your people participate in this effort for doing that?
Maybe around 7 days or so.
Okay. Did you all have to do this, provide personnel and equipment?
No.
Why did you do it?
Just because of the significance of, what happened.
All told, do you have any idea how much money this costs Waste Management to have
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
I'll allow it.
shift operations and then divert personnel and equipment to this effort?
Once we shift operation, it costs us between $70,000 or $80,000 to move the operation.
Were you present at Waste Management Superior Landfill the day that the searchers found Quinton?
That's correct. I was in my office.
What do you remember about that day?
My operator called me and said,
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sir, we just don't want you to repeat anything that someone else told you, because that would be hearsay.
At some point, did you get a call that caused you to go out there?
yes,
And were you relieved to hear that the search had been successful?
yes.
One moment, please. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Johnson, how are you?
I'm doing great, sir.
My name is Martin Hilliard. Hope you're having a good day. I just got some follow-up questions for you. Your exact title at Waste Management was what again?
Senior district manager.
So, what's the district you're a manager of?
Coastal.
And which goes from where to where?
South Carolina and Georgia.
Okay. And is there 3 landfills in those
Yes.
areas?
2 in South Carolina and 1 in Georgia.
So those are what you manage?
Yes, sir.
3, correct, for the company? All right. And just out of curiosity, are there any other landfills in the Savannah area?
They're Republic landfill.
Okay, and where's that located at?
I believe that's close by the airport.
Okay. And that's the only other competitor you have in the area?
That's correct.
Okay. And approximately, I know we're talking about the Little Neck Road landfill that y'all have, correct?
Yes.
Approximately how many trucks come in and go out of there every day?
Some days could be 400 or 500 trucks per day.
Okay. And are there many? How many different commercial waste companies dump there?
A lot.
Okay. And when I say commercial waste companies, that's what I mean is people who are engaged in picking and removing waste. Can be for both businesses and private, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have both private businesses, I guess residential waste removal companies that dump there?
Yes.
Do you have both, I guess, commercial, which would be like businesses?
Yes.
Okay, so you have basically both, correct?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say that most of them have similar equipment?
Meaning,
a waste removal truck of some sort?
well, some comes in a waste removal truck and some is your everyday pickup trucks with a dump trailer.
All right. So you do both, I guess, private?
Yes.
Private dumping as well?
Yes,
Okay. And I assume you charge for that as well?
that's correct.
So it's not just the big companies that come in and do it. Private
That's correct.
citizens come in and do it too.
Yes.
And anyone can come in and dump in that facility.
Yes, sir.
And it has both, I guess, residential garbage as well as commercial garbage.
That's correct.
And anytime I'm not stating the accurate, being inaccurate about your business, please correct me, okay? Now let's talk about, I guess it's the, what was it you called the area you're dumping in or dumping waste in?
It's a landfill cell.
A landfill cell. Okay. How many landfill cells do you have operating at one time in the dump?
Just one.
Okay. So with regard to that landfill cell that's operating, any and all trucks that come in there dump in that landfill cell, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What's the furthest away, if you know, what's the furthest away you have trucks coming in?
Just around the surrounding area.
Okay. So let's say as far away as surrounding counties, maybe?
That's correct.
Okay. And again, you're not like, you're a private company engaged in the landfill business, so you don't turn people away just because they're from out of county, do you?
We just don't take out of state waste.
Right. So it's whatever waste you got's coming from Georgia, right?
Coming from Georgia, that's correct.
So you're using one landfill cell area at a time, correct?
That's correct.
And I assume, from what I have heard you testify to, you use this landfill cell area, and you said it's 10 to 12 to 13 acres big.
That's correct.
All right. And everything that comes in gets dumped there.
That's correct.
And how long do you use that landfill cell for usually?
It all depends on the volume of the waste coming in. How much waste is coming in, then it will fill up quicker. If the volume decreases, it'll stay. That general area will stay a little bit longer.
In general, how long does it take you to move from one landfill cell to the next?
2 to 3 years.
Okay. So in this particular case, the landfill cell you were using, how long have y'all been using that one?
We've been using that area a little bit over 2 years.
Okay. So at that point in time, it was about a 2-year landfill cell, and you were having 400 to 500 trucks a day from the surrounding area dump in that landfill cell, correct?
That's correct.
Was there any other area you were dumping in the landfill at that point in time?
No, sir.
Okay. So, and the only other competitor you have in town is Republic near the airport, correct?
That's correct.
And if you don't know, you don't know. Does any private sanitation companies dump there?
Yes.
Okay. Which companies dump there?
So you have Waste Pro, Atlantic Waste, Pro Disposal. So we got quite a bit.
Okay. And when I say, do they dump residential waste as well as commercial waste?
That's correct.
Okay. So, and what's the difference between residential waste versus commercial waste?
Well, one's household garbage, and the other one is construction demolition debris.
Okay. So some of these companies are paid or engaged or contracted to go collect people's household waste, the garbage cans you see along the road, right?
Correct.
Okay. And and you said you know of at least 3 companies that do that and that dump in there, correct?
Yeah, and a lot more.
Okay. We'll just stick with what you know. Let's not speculate, okay? So you know of at least 3 companies. There probably are more, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so you said it was October 8th was when all waste in this particular landfill cell was stopped, correct?
October 7th.
October 7th?
That's correct.
So all of the waste that came in to your facility for the 5th, 6th, and 7th until it was stopped from Savannah and surrounding areas was dumped in this landfill cell, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. That's all the questions I have.
Can you redirect?
When you were indicating to Detective Noble the area that truck 3909 would have deposited its load, or I guess where that load would have ultimately ended up after being moved from the tipping field. An area
Tipping floor.
tipping floor. on October 5th. Were you indicating towards just like the entirety of the 10 to 12 acre
No.
landfill cell, or
No.
to a more precise area within it?
Yeah, it's just a more precise area.
About how big was that area that you were pointing out to him, if you could estimate?
Normally, we work in a 50 by 50 area.
Okay. And was Quinton ultimately found in that area?
That's correct.
Just to follow up, you're talking about the tipping floor. So again, the tipping floor, the big piece of equipment that we saw. When you're using a landfill cell and you have the tipping floor, I assume that compactor runs back and forth over the trash, compacting it, correct?
That's correct.
And it picks it up and moves it, correct?
Well, the dozers, well, everybody knows that bulldozers will take the waste to the compactor, and then the compactor spreads the waste and compact it.
Okay. So when you say the bulldozer, everyone knows this. Let's just assume I don't know anything about landfills. I don't know anything about how it works. Okay. So, but what we're saying is all the waste that gets dumped is compacted, dozed, moved, pushed, compacted. How many times does this happen?
Once the waste is pushed in that general area, it don't get moved, it just get compacted.
Okay. And so when the waste gets dumped, it gets dozed, moved, pushed, compacted, and then that's, I guess you start doing what you call the daily
Cover.
cover. Okay. And every day you have to cover it, and every day you have to uncover it.
That's correct.
And once you uncover it, do you dump more and do that again?
That's correct.
All right. So you compact it, dose it, move it, cover it, uncover it. The next day, dump more, compact it, dose it, move it, cover it. Next day, uncover it, do the same thing again, and then stop, correct?
That's correct. Once we reach our general height.
Thank you.
Mr. Dean?
No question.
Thank you. And may this witness be released.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Johnson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are excused.